Hi there. In a previous video I used the guts out of this IBM monitor to repair a tabletop arcade machine. I needed the tube to go in there to replace a broken tube, and everything's working great in that. However, it's left me with just the shell of this monitor, and I have the matching Aptiva desktop PC, so I really wanted to try and find another IBM monitor or make this one whole again. Let's see if we can do that in this video. Welcome to the basement. So this is what's left of the monitor. It really is just a shell. All of the good bits are inside of the arcade machine now. So you can see there's just nothing in here, but if we spin it right around, you can actually see how yellow it is too. So unfortunately it's not in the best of condition. It really does need some retro brighting and a decent clean. So I thought what I could do is try and fix the whole thing with a bit of video magic. So this is definitely needing some guts, and it's needing some retro brighting. But if we wave our hands over it and say the magic word, peroxide, hopefully that works. Hey, look at that. That was easy. I'm just kidding. It's actually a totally different monitor, but it doesn't work either. So let's see if we can fix it. So a friend of the channel, shout out to you Stephen, was watching the episode where I removed all the guts out of the IBM monitor, and he heard me mention I'd like to find another one if I could, and anyway he was at the tip, and lo and behold this particular machine was sitting in the e-waste bin, and it's the exact same monitor. So how good is that? So he dropped it off. The only thing is I don't know if it works, because being e-waste, they always cut the cable. So the VGA cable was hardwired in these, and it's been cut off. The power's okay because that just goes into a plug. So we're going to need to wire in a new cable, a VGA cable, and see if it actually works. Hopefully it does. The case is in a lot better condition, and if I can get it going, it's really a win. Now these monitors are pretty easy to take apart. You just have to pop these side covers out. And then there's a screw in here and here, same on the other side, and the whole thing comes apart. So yeah, pretty easy to get into these things. Now remember, there's all sorts of lethality under this little rubber cap here, probably around here too. Now this has presumably not been plugged in for a long time, but you just can't tell. So I'm just going to avoid that side over there. The only thing we wanted to sort of muck around with today is this bit here. So let's pull this out and see if we can work out a way of fixing this. So here's our cut-off VGA lead, and there's a screw behind it which I'm going to take out because I think it's holding the lead in there. Now it's underneath all of the back of the neck and everything, so I'm going to use a little stubby screwdriver so I don't have to remove all this out of the way, just to undo that screw. So hopefully that's going to work if it fits in there. Great, so hopefully this just lifts out of there now. Yep, look at that. We'll start by cutting a few zip ties out of the way. So most of it was just plugged into the bottom board, but there's a few thick wires going to the neck board here on that plug, and it's actually glued. So I'll see if I can break that glue and get this plug off, and then that whole wire is going to come free. Ooh, just trying to be a bit careful cutting, and maybe I should cut through the glue. Yes, got it. So in theory, yeah, it's loose. That's handy. It's going to make fixing it a whole lot easier. Don't hate me, but I'm going to go with the black one instead of the beige. I don't have many of these, and the only beige one I have is quite thin and really long, whereas this is a really thick well shielded cable. So yeah, we're going to change the colour to black, which is not ideal, but you just got to make do with what you've got on hand. So the idea is to avoid having to redo all of this kind of paraphernalia. I just want to cut it here somewhere, cut this one, and just sort of join them together. That's the idea. We'll have to put obviously this earth clamp back on there, and I'll try and get this molded piece off here. I don't know if that's actually going to be possible, but I'll try. And that's going to be that. I'll try heating it up, seeing if that helps. Well, it pulled the whole thing off. I'm just not sure it's possible to get that insulation off. I'm sure it must be. Yeah. Right, so I've got it off. The strain relief now is ready to go back on the other cable. Getting it on is going to be just as challenging, I reckon, so I'll leave that job for later. Now we can nice and easily get our clamp off. And now we've got the strain relief off, we can actually solder down on the end here instead of cutting it further back. And I'll just put the excess cable inside the monitor. Okay, let's cut the cable. Well, no turning back now. Strain relief, is it going to go on? Yay, it does. Okay, we're getting there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cables, or 9 wires to solder, and 10 including the sheath. First things first, do our colours match? Yes, it appears so, which will make it easy. I just have to join the colours just like kindergarten. Okay, well that's one down, another 9 to go. I hope you enjoy a montage. Actually, it's probably a good time to check out the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay is a great place to go if you just enjoy making things. You can browse through their maker library and just pick something you like. You can order it straight from there and just have fun building it. So if that's your thing, then I would check out PCBWay. They do a whole lot more too. They do CNC machining, they do 3D printing, they do sheet metal fabrication, you name it. Whatever you need for your next project or prototype, PCBWay is the way to go. So now let's click through to the finish. Well, it's not finished. It turns out I tricked you because I didn't look at these 3 wires closely enough. These 3 are actually shielded wires, so I think they're the signal wires, and they have a really tiny little wire inside this extra bit of plastic sheathing here. So I'm going to need to strip them back further and connect them carefully, and then connect the outside. So there's a fair bit more soldering to go. Anyway, you don't need to bother about that. Let's get it finished. And there we have it, nicely finished. So to finish it off, I covered it in some silver foil tape for the shielding, and then went over that with insulation tape in case this touches anything inside. I didn't want it to short out. And now all that's left to do is to connect it back in, and hopefully the monitor comes to life. Okay, let's plug everything back in on our new cable. Now we'll just put our excess cable inside the monitor, and hopefully it's all just going to work. Okay, that's all done up. Our cable strain relief is on there, and I don't mind the black cable. It kind of matches these black cutouts here. I think it's time to give it some power, keep our hands away, and see if the screen actually turns on. I really hope it does after all that work. Okay, let me find a power lead. Okay, keeping with the theme, I'm going to go for a black power cable. Let me spin it around so you can see if the screen does anything. Now the reason I didn't turn it on before just to test it is because when the VGA cable got cut, sometimes when the wires all get cut together they can be shorted out, and there I don't want to damage it by applying power if something was shorted out. Okay, moment of truth. I should probably stand back. Alright, we've got a green light. It's coming on. It's making screen noises, which is promising. So there seems to be some light in here, but the menu's not coming up on it, so I don't know if it needs to be plugged into a computer for it to do that. Maybe it's in standby mode. Hope so. Let's plug it into a VGA output and see if we get anything on there. Okay, I've got this Toshiba T1910 with a VGA port on the back. I can't see anything on the screen. That may be because it knows there's something plugged in, and it's... Let me just check. This worked last time I used it. Ah, the screen just was needing adjusting. Let's plug that back in. Maybe was a waste of time. What a shame. Okay, nothing much seems to be happening. I have tested the output of this computer on another monitor and it was working fine, but this is just doing nothing. In fact, when I plug it in to anything, the screen just goes dead, like the power's off. When I unplug it, let's do that. You can see the screen sort of comes back on again. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it starts firing its electrons again. What a shame. We're so close, but so far. Still, it's a nice case. If I can maybe just find a new insides for the case. Never mind. I'll have a bit of a poke around, look at some fuses, but otherwise I'm a bit out of my depth when it comes to trying to fix whatever's wrong with this. So I was going to give up, but I just had another thought, is that what if the colours aren't standardised in these different leads? And so therefore I'm just sending the signal to the wrong pin on the plug. So I have done this thing before, connecting a cut-off cable back onto a monitor. In fact, I did it on the monitor that I used in the arcade machine, but when I found the monitor I also found the lead that had been cut off, the original lead, and so it really was just a case of matching up the colours to put it back together. But I don't think it's the case this time, matching up the colours to put it together, because I don't think the leads are standardized in their color. So I'm pretty sure that the signal was going to the wrong pin on the plug. Now, to test my theory, I actually went up into the arcade machine and pulled it apart and just tested all the pins and worked out what color they went to. Thankfully I had the exact same cable up there that I could test with, and I made a diagram, and sure enough the pins were all over the place. So I have wired up a new plug. I think everything's in the right place according to my diagram. So now let's try one more time to hook this up to the monitor and see if it works. Okay, this time around I'm going to use the actual computer that it's supposed to go with, the Aptiva. Right, plugging it in. It's making the turn on noise. Let's turn on the computer. Yes, it's working. So that's what it was. It was just a jumbled up lead. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Let me try that again. There's something garbled on the screen there. I don't know if it's the computer. Hoping it's the computer and not the monitor. We get the splash screen nicely. Ah, that's better. Okay, I don't have a keyboard attached, so that's as far as we're going to get, but yes, it's working. The monitor is working. It's a bit dim. Yes, and all the buttons are working. Yeah, so none of that was working before, so whatever was wrong with the lead must have been cutting out all the other functions on the monitor. Excellent, that looks like it's going. Let me get it back together and tidied up. I should probably give it a bit of a cursory clean just before we turn it on and have a look at this Aptiva. Don't want to get too carried away though. So I plan on showcasing this Aptiva system in another video and maybe upgrade it a little while we're at it. But I do just want to check that this monitor is working fine, so I'll fire it up. It's just nice to have all the matching components again with all of the purpley blue IBM everywhere. Life is good again. So why don't we hit the power button and hopefully it springs into life. So it's doing this weird garbled screen thing again with these funny little icons on there. I don't think it's the monitor. It might be something wrong with the BIOS or something. So I'll try turning it off and on again because that worked before. Yeah, so that time around everything's fine. I'm not sure what's happening there, but can we exit? Well, there we go. Windows, well, this mouse doesn't seem to work very well. So I've got the old serial mouse, so I'll plug this in and reboot. Hopefully it works. Pointing device error or not connected. Hey, look at that. Mouse works perfectly. Just goes to show. Good old Microsoft, hey? Oh, the clicker's not very clicky, but hopefully that works. Well, this is what it would have been like to compute in 1998. Open up my computer. Oh, I've forgotten how to navigate around. How do we just look at the specifications? Properties. Here it is. So, John must have been the previous owner. It's a authentic AMD K6 3D processor, 56 meg of RAM. It's Microsoft Windows 98. Yeah, so your bog standard AMD K6 in this Aptiva. I think what I like most about this Aptiva is, of course, all of the cool IBM branding and just the, I guess, that 90s aesthetic that it has. I did used to have one of these. I bought second hand in 1999, and I used to play a lot of Age of Empires on it. So it's a bit of a nostalgic throwback for me having one of these. So I'm not going to go into have a look in the documents because obviously this was someone's computer and the hard drive needs wiping and reinstalling with a fresh copy of 98. But yeah, I think this monitor is working fine. Even the alignment seems to be pretty good. Colors are a little dull, but I'm not sure if that's this profile in Windows because the boot screen was quite vivid. Yeah, that's better. Get a bit of brightness into it. Yeah, that's much better. Look at that. It's got color there now. Well, there you go. What I thought was going to be a quick and easy little job turned into something a little more. I'm glad I've got it worked out though, because next time I find a monitor with the cord cut, which does happen all too often, I'll know not to just connect the colors of any lead, but to actually figure out what color goes where and align it to the correct pin. So I was lucky that I've got a second one of these that works, and I was able to trace all the pins and find out where they go to on the main board. Because there's no writing or indication on the mainboard what is what, and none of the colors seem to make any sense compared to other manufacturers. So yeah, that was a bit of luck. And anyway, we've got it going. So what I'm going to do is, if you've happened to find yourself here in this video trying to fix the same monitor that's had its cord cut, I know it's probably not a large number of you, but hey, if you're here looking for that info, I'll put it down in the description, the pinout that I worked out. and hopefully saves you a bit of headache in the future. But for now, I'm really happy that we've got a working monitor. I've got the system put back together, and it's even in better condition than the one that I pulled apart. So that's a great result. Thanks again to Stephen, who found this at the e-waste and grabbed it. I'm not sure how you managed to get it out of there. They're pretty strict about that, but good on you for doing it. And yeah, you've been in the basement. Have a great day.